there, I'm Daar. Welcome to Valley College. And I'm so sorry that we're having the technical difficulties that we are. It looked like we were having a situation and where I would be able to show you my beautiful PowerPoint, but that went down, and I've decided that we need to kind of move on. And I'm going to give you a rather brief but a historical perspective in terms of why we are here today. And again, the importance that is being placed on the creation of these new AA-Ts or AS-T degrees for the benefit of our students and for the benefit of our community colleges in terms of being a real gateway as transfer institutions over to four-year universities. And it may seem a little new to you because of the new set of bills that were actually created. That's the reason why we are here today. But the fact of the matter is, this has been a discussion, a topic of discussion by legislatures, as well as a topic of discussion by the four-year universities and the community colleges for over 10 years or so. And it started out with a Senate bill called 1785. And you probably aren't familiar with that, because that was a little while ago, back in 2004. And 1785 provided a way for students to be able to gain priority admission as a transfer person in junior status in four-year universities. It was an important idea because it acknowledged, perhaps publicly, at least in the legislature, as being that we have a little bit of a disconnect between the CSUs and the CCCs in the transfer system. The transfer system was very highly inefficient. And so it directed the chancellor of the CSU to establish transfer student admissions requirements that would give highest priority to transfer students. This got coupled with another Senate bill, called Senate Bill 1415, back in 2006. California community colleges and the CSUs, UCs could attend if they want to be, they can participate if they want to, privates can participate if they want to, but it was basically a Senate bill that was directly related to the California community college system and the CSUs. They were to adopt a common numbering system for the 20 highest demand majors to minimize duplication of coursework. Again, this is all for seamless transfer from the community college over to the CSUs. So there has been a great amount of efforts that have been devoted by the CSUs as well as the State Academic Senate in terms of making that happen. One of those things is called the California Articulation Number System, or CAN. CAN is no longer active, but if you've been part of the community college system for a little while, you may have been going to those CAN conferences in order to be able to talk to colleagues from other community colleges. And ideally, there would be a CSU representative there as well. Every once in a while, depending upon the discipline, there might have been a UC representative. But again, mostly community college people who are trying to have that common numbering system as was required by the Senate bill. Courses were involved were common core lower division courses, transferable major courses, commonly that are taught in the CSU as well as the California community college campuses. And intersegmental faculty got together, had dialogue, discussed. I was part of it in my discipline of anthropology, and it was really quite an impressive movement that was made in terms of trying to have a common numbering system for the disciplines. But it wasn't really a formal process, and as you now know, it does not function anymore as an organization. And UC did not really participate on a grand level. Then the CSUs decided to put together something called LDTP, and many articulation officers are very familiar with LDTP. But there was no formal process again. It was principally a numbering system that was developed by CSU faculty with very, very limited California community college participation. And courses involved in at least 2 to 3 courses commonly agreed upon by each of the 40 LDTP disciplines that were identified by the CSU. Then we have Enter CID. CID, which you're very familiar with right now, and you're going to be more familiar with as you continue your discussions later on today at Discipline Day. A proposal was created, the CID proposal, to replace and expand on the efforts of CAN. It's a super numbering system, a response to the demands and needs of the Senate bill, and again, the requirements that we were expected to comply to in order to be able to have that common numbering system. So we have a published set of course descriptors for use by post-secondary institutions, as well as California community college students, faculty, and counselors. And the courses that were involved, particularly in the CID system, were many transferable major courses to UC and CSU. And often they were general education major prep courses that were not addressed by LDTP and CSU efforts. And that leads us to the important bill, the Senate bill that brings us all here today, and that's SB 1440. SB 1440 was signed in September 2010. It allows for students to be able to earn an associate degree for transfer. An associate degree for transfer is different than any other associate degrees that were offered by community colleges in the past. A student must complete 60 transferable semester units that include the IGETC or CSU general education pattern, 18 or more units in a major or area of emphasis as defined by the California community colleges. And there's not supposed to be any other additional graduation requirements. And students who have gained a AA-T or AS-T, associate degree for transfer, have to have a minimum GPA of 2.0. And that led to the development of TMCs, or Transfer Model Curriculum. Transfer Model Curriculum served as a blueprint to guide local associate degree for transfer development. It provides for some uniformity as well as local options. You had your core requirements, but there was also other options that could be adopted for the local degree. And faculty can narrow the course options or pass the choices on to the students, depending upon how the discipline developed that degree. It was a transfer model curriculum that also allowed for that intersegmental faculty consultation that's taking place between CSUs, but primarily the California Community College system. And some transfer model curriculum is rather narrow, but others are more restrictive, but others are more open. And it depends really upon the discipline and on the feedback that has been provided by the discipline members during the creation and the vetting period of the transfer model curriculum. This was a decision that was negotiated by the State Chancellor's Office as well as the State Academic Senate to allow for the State Academic Senate to lead into the development of the transfer model curriculum. And in that development of it, the State Chancellor's Office will accept those degrees as complying with the Senate bill. There's great benefits for the students. We all know that in terms of theory. There is great benefits for the students. It allows for guaranteed admission with junior status somewhere in the CSU system. CSU must accept all 60 units. There's no duplication. It must make up the degree. CSU must enable the student complete the BA degree within 60 units. And the CSU cannot require the student to repeat courses that are similar to those that have already been taken at the community college. This again goes right back to 10 years ago when we start seeing the beginnings of the first Senate bills being accepted and passed, and again fits the needs of the talk and the discussions that have been taking place on the legislature since that time. So we now have that Senate bill, which is referred to as the Student Transfer Achievement Reform Act. As a condition of receipt of state apportionment for community colleges, the district has to develop and grant these associate degrees for transfer to meet the requirements as specified by the subdivision. So again, it is definitely directly related to our funding. A student admitted under this article shall receive priority over all other community college transferred students. Work began between the CSUs and the California Community College Academic Senate prior to even the bill's signing. There were curricular elements that dealt with the 1440 Intersegmental Curriculum Work Group, called ICW, and that took place back in 2009. Representatives from CSU got together, California Community College Academic Senate representation, and there was even a CIO that was on that original group. It was considered to be a statewide solution to the problems that we had with an inefficient system of transfer between the community colleges and the CSUs at least. While the legislation did not call for a statewide approach, the faculty from the two segments believed this would make more sense. And the ultimate goal? 1 degree per major that prepares students for any CSU within that major. And once the student completes an associate degree for transfer and is at the CSU, the CSU shall not require students transferring to repeat courses that are similar to those taken at the CC that counted toward the associate degree for transfer. Once the student completes an associate degree for transfer and is at the CSU again cannot allow that student to be required to take any more than 60 additional semester units or 90 quarter units at the CSU for majors that have 120 semester units. There is definitely consideration that is given to higher unit majors, such as the sciences, and as Kathleen alluded to in her presentation, that's something that still is being negotiated by discipline in terms of how well we can apply the transfer degree, the AS-T, to those high unit yielding majors. The CSU shall guarantee admission with junior status. Admission to the CSU does not guarantee admission for specific majors or for specific campuses. That's the limitation of this particular system. The CSU shall grant a student priority admission to his or her local CSU campus and to the program or major that is similar to his community college major or area of emphasis, as determined by the California State University campus to which the student is admitted. The Academic Senate of California Community Colleges was very supportive of this entire system, and there has been various different resolutions that they had passed during the past couple of years in support of this system. In fall of 2010, they had resolved that they will support the development of transfer model curriculum in majors and areas of emphasis through the CID, the Course Identification Numbering System. In spring 2011, they also agreed to have it as resolved to urge their local senates to adopt the transfer model curriculum, the TMCs, as they develop their local degrees. And they also resolved that the Academic Senate will recommend that all the approved transfer model curricula, the TMCs, will be displayed in ASSIST, our articulation program. And in spring of 2012, there was a resolution by the State Academic Senate to again look into the benefits of these degrees, to gather their own evidence for evaluating the effectiveness of those degrees for students and faculty. So there's various different resources that hopefully you would have in hard copy within your packets. I'm not exactly sure what you have received, but I have it on my PowerPoint here. But one of the things that Kathleen Bimber did mention is please go ahead and take a look at the website that explains CID a bit more in detail. And it gives you a little bit more of a historical perspective in terms of the State Chancellor's Office outreach to the California community colleges in working to create these transfer model curricula. You can find the CID website on www.c-id.net. And then another really helpful website to get more information about curriculum information and counseling information that's related to the TMCs is www.sb, Senate Bill 1440.org. And that gives you a lot of an overview. So I really am so appreciative to see so many people coming out for Discipline Day, because again, in the end, we are here for the benefit of our students. In the end, we are hoping to create the dream that was identified more than a decade ago about how we need to have a clear transfer pattern, a clear transfer pathway for our students. And again, it's just wonderful that you're able to put that kind of work for our district. And I thank you for your time.